Recently I made so many videos regarding what's going on with my account. You know, I got 0 twice, 1 in KVK, 1 in Home Kingdom. We invested in new legendary commanders such as Ho Chu-bing, William. Like, we've basically transitioned our account to cavalry. We crafted a lot of equipment, but I realized that I didn't record or published any videos that are going to help to my favorite audience, free-to-plays and low spenders, how to get more value in Rise of Kingdoms. And that's why today it's going to be a two-part series. In today's video, we are going to cover the best 5511 legendary commanders in Rise of Kingdoms, and on the next one we are going to cover 5551s. And when I say, let's say 5511, it doesn't necessarily have to be 5511. What I mean by that is just having 2 skills max, 190 commander sculpture investments. But before that, a quick word from today's sponsor. And I know for a fact that 90% of you guys at least know the name of the game because it has over 80 million downloads. I'll give you 3 seconds to guess it. That's right, Raid Shadow Legends. The game is available on iOS, Android and PC. You can download it for free from the link in the description, pinned comment, or from the QR code on your screen. And they were too kind to bless our download link with insane bonuses to give you guys a huge head start with guaranteed 2 epics and a rare hero. And that's just the first bonus, so bear with me for a second. What I love about Raid Shadow Legends might actually surprise you. Yes, it's completely free to play, the graphics are on a console game level, there are over 800 champions and billions of ways to customize them, 15 different playable factions. Whew. But it's none of that, it's the ads. Raid Shadow Legends is like one of the few games that doesn't have those cringe game ads. For some reason, those things trigger me so much. Now, if you download the game from my link or use the QR code, first you will receive Lightsworn, an insane epic champion that keeps your team alive. Once you reach level 15, you will receive Juliana, who is straight up a boss killing machine. And on top of that, if you use one of the promo codes on your screen right now, you will be gifted with one more top tier champion and extra goodies for a super smooth starting experience. The first one, and probably the best, Monkey King, that gives you the legendary champion Sun Wukong. I will leave 3 more promo codes in the description, but keep in mind that if you're a new player, you can only redeem one of the codes, so in my opinion, for sure, go for Sun Wukong for insane debuffs. And make sure to use it within the first 72 hours. To redeem promo codes, tap on the tab on the left hand side of the screen and then select the promo codes option. Once in the promo codes window, type in your promo code and hit confirm. You will receive confirmation if your entry was successful. And then you can claim your rewards from your inbox. So, are you still here? What are you waiting for? Download links are in the description, pinned comment, or you can scan the QR code on the screen. Thank you Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring today's video. Starting with infantry, and then we will cover archers and cavalry. First, honorable mentions, and this is basically the main reason why infantry is so good in pre-season of Conquest. If you are in pre-SOC, which means KVK 1 to 3, there are some infantry commanders that are really good with low investment, but these are on the general list only honorable mentions. One being Richard I. As you can see, even my Richard is 5511. I mean, like, deep in Season of Conquest. But the main reason why Richard is 5511 is so good is because, yes, in early KVKs you can use him for field fighting or other things, but even in the late game he has different uses. For example, he is the best commander when it comes to sustain to chain barbarians. He works really good in Sunset Canyon, Lost Canyon, or other game modes where you need a frontliner, a tanky march that can sustain, that can heal. Charles Martel is the same, 5511 Charles Martel. Mine is luckily got expertise. I never spent any universal sculptures on Charles Martel, and you shouldn't as well. However, let's say you are in KVK 1 or 2 and your Charles Martel is 5411. And then you can spend a little bit of legendary commander sculpture, so just to get him to 5511 and use him on the field. Just like Charles and Richard, our last honorable mention when it comes to infantry is Alexander the Great. 5511 Alexander the Great is just superb in early KVKs. However, as I said, I'm going to repeat this again, these are only in pre-season of Conquest. We have one honorable mention for Season of Conquest, and that is Gorgo. 5511 Gorgo is actually insane. She has 2300 single target damage factor, and it is smite damage, which means any commander that you are hitting who has skill damage taken reduction, it doesn't matter. For example, Saladin is so tanky. Why? Because he has 30% skill damage reduction, or Liu Che, second skill of Liu Che is skill damage taken reduction. But since she's dealing smite damage, it's not skill damage, it doesn't matter. They cannot reduce this smite damage, which is great. Deals 10% normal damage with an extra 2% bonus to counterattack damage, which goes up to, again, 10%, plus 20% skill damage reduction, but also deals reduced skill damage, but her damage is smite damage, so it doesn't affect. Well, if you're using a secondary that has skill damage, of course, then you are going to reduce that. But for Gorgo, it doesn't matter. This thing literally has no downsides. Her second skill is infantry units gain 40% attack. Whenever their troop launches a basic attack, it has a 10% chance to increase the target's normal damage received by 30% for 3 seconds. And if you click on normal damage, it includes smite damage and damage dealt by basic attacks and counterattacks. So you are increasing their damage taken like massively. However, even though her first 2 skills are just amazing, the reason why I said Gorgo is an honorable mention, she is mainly a garrison commander. Because in my book, when you are low investing to a commander, most of the time, unless it's like Saladin or William, who are like 95% almost completed with just 5551, yes, you don't need to expertise him, but in general, you want to low invest on commanders, get the best out of them when you are low on sculptures. But at some point, in my opinion, you want to expertise them at the end. But Gorgo is a garrison commander, and if you are free to play low spender, there is no point of defending your city because it doesn't matter, you will get wrecked. Your best city defense is a peace shield, and of course, since you don't have top VIP max technology in Season of Conquest, you won't be garrisoning any forts or any structure. So simply, a garrison commander is not that useful for you. However, if you're a high spender, Gorgo is just perfect. The next one on the list, which is not an honorable mention, he's actually insane. The other latest and the greatest commander, Liu Che. I might actually do it myself, invest on a 5511 Liu Che to replace my Guan Yu, and at some point, as I said when I was explaining Gorgo why she's an honorable mention, I'm going to expertise Liu Che at some point, but for now, I'm going to try to use him as a 5511 to actually test him. His skills are amazing. 2250 smite damage factor, again not skill damage, so skill damage taken reduction skills doesn't reduce this damage, plus 40% march speed reduction for 3 seconds. And I forgot to tell you that this skill is 5 target AoE. This is the only 5 target AoE when it comes to infantry commanders. I think this is an insane skill, like 2250 damage factor to 5 targets. It's like Nevsky level damage, but Nevsky's damage is single target. I don't know, it's insane. Second skill, which makes him really tanky, you are getting 20% infantry damage bonus, 20% march speed bonus, and on top of that, 20% skill damage taken reduction. This makes him very, very tanky. And when you unlock this skill, you're gonna get 5% infantry attack, not bad, but also with a 25% chance, you will be dealing extra 100 smite damage every 5 seconds. And the last skill, when you just unlock it, 2% normal damage bonus and 2% damage reduction. So what I'm going to do is basically invest on Liu Che, get him to 5511, and slowly work on him and finally get him expertise to use with my CPO. CPO is going to be primary, Liu Che is going to be secondary because CPO talent 3, support and infantry. And if you look at, I'm sidetracking. The next one on the list is Sargon the Great, but he's a weird one because this time you're not going to have him at 5511. Instead, we will do 5510. So we are not going to unlock his last skill. This means you won't be able to use him as a primary. You want to use this version of Sargon as a secondary because you shouldn't level him up. If you level him up after some point, you will automatically unlock the last skill, and we don't want that. The reason is, it says whenever target troop reaches 10 stacks of artifact, the effect is dispelled and target takes direct damage. Now, unless you max the skill, it is not worth it. Instead, what you want to do is do not unlock this skill so that technically there is nothing that can remove those old stack. Instead of removing it and dealing certain amount of skill damage, you're just going to keep stacking more artifacts. I think 5510 Sargon is another great low investment for infantry marches. And then of course, we have CPO Africanus. When I was low on sculptures, I did actually use prime CPO as a 5511. And he was just so perfect. 2000 AoE damage up to 3 targets, and on top of that, you are decreasing the enemy health for 30% for 3 seconds. And the good thing is, since this health reduction coming from the skill, and let's say you have a concealed dagger on one of your marches, those health reductions are actually stacking up on each other, because one coming from an accessory, the other one coming from a commander skill, so they do stack, and in the end you will have massive health reduction. And since it is a debuff, all the marches that are hitting to that target is going to benefit from that. Like, this is an amazing first skill, and the second one is infantry attack, march speed, and even extra march speed. So it is not the best second skill, especially let's say if you compare it with Liu Che. However, CPO is a commander that you really want to invest if you're going to have one infantry march. And what you can do is you can certainly start using him as a 5-5-1-1 and then slowly work on him just like what I did, and in the end get him expertised. Now we are going to move to archers. Now most archer commanders do actually work really well even with low investment. Starting with Boudica, I did also use Boudica as a 5-5-1-1, and then what I did is once I had enough sculptures, I upgraded her to 5-5-5-1, and in the end I just unlocked her expertise. First skill, very high single target damage, plus you are increasing the skill damage taken off the target, and on top of that you are applying march speed reduction. Second skill, 30% attack, 10% march speed, and a third benefit, if you have less than 80% units remaining, archer units also gain 30% defense. I think it's a really good 5-5-1-1 investment, but eventually, in my opinion, if you are going to use like a single or two archer marches, you want to expertise Boudica. And then we have a weird one, Tomris. The reason why Tomris is weird is because you don't actually want Tomris at 5-5-1-1, you want her at 5-1-1-5. Which is based on pure luck. I know it's not the easiest thing to get, but if you can get your Tomris to 5-1-1-5, she is just so good. The reason why you want, of course, this is the active skill, you want it at 5, and the reason why you want 4 skill at 5 is just what makes Tomris so special. It is the poison effect. And once the skill is maxed, the probability to inflict poison is 100%. Literally, there is no probability. You will inflict poison every single time. So if you are going to invest on Tomris, first max his first skill and then unlock all 4 skills and pray that every single upgrade will land on the 4th skill. And if you can get it, she's going to be so good, and you can pair her with our next low investment archer, which is Artemisia. I mean, I accept that it is not the, especially when you compare it to latest and greatest commanders, it is not the highest AoE damage, 1800, plus you are dealing damage to yourself. However, if you look at her second skill, 20% defense, 20% health, 40% defensive, like tanky bonuses, which is something very unusual for archers. So I think 5-5-1-1 Artemisia is just so good, and if you can pair her with Tomris 5-1-1-5, it's going to be such a great low investment march. In total, you are going to be using 380 sculptures, which is the exact amount you need to get any commander to 5-5-5-1, but instead you are having 2 really good low investment archer commanders, and you can pair them together. I think this is a really good budget friendly march. And the other 2, of course, Nebuchadnezzar and Zhuge Liang. Their active skills are amazing, their second skills are really decent. Both commanders are better when expertise, especially Zhuge Liang. Like, this is probably right now in Rise of Kingdoms the best archer commander, and if you're going to use one archer march, of course in the end you want him to be expertised, but you can still use him like very safely once he's 5-5-1-1. Only 190 commander sculpture investment. I think it is great. Look at the second skill. Archer health bonus, archer damage bonus, and 50% chance to negate a control effect, and on top of that, inflict extra direct damage factor, 2000 damage, circular area. That's crazy. Like, this commander is insane. And good old Nebu, like one of the OG great archer commanders, very decent AoE. However, when you compare it to Zhuge Liang, of course you can see a massive difference. So unless you are going for multiple archer marches, definitely Zhuge Liang with Boudica would be my choices. And an archer honorable mention for pre-season of Conquest is going to be Yi Song-ye, because I don't know when I expertise this commander, but I'm still getting value pairing him with Boudica. I know the power of Yi Song actually lies in his expertise, because you are increasing the damage from 1400 to 1700, and also turning his AoE, his fan-shaped AoE, into a circular AoE, which is insane. But if you look at Zhuge Liang, like right off the bat, it is just circular AoE. You don't need to expertise him. But of course, Yi Song is like first generation commander, so he's a lot weaker. But still, in pre-season of Conquest, I think you can definitely use Yi Song at 5511, you will get a lot of value. But even if, let's say, you are not in Season of Conquest, but you are very close to it, and you haven't really worked on your Yi Song-ye, he's just, let's say, 5111, then I recommend do not work on him if you're going to use one archer march, because we have the boss Zhuge Liang. So that's why Yi Song is just an honorable mention. Last but not least, cavalry. Well, when it comes to cavs, for low investment, we don't actually have many options. The first one is going to be Alexander Nevsky. He's just such a beast, defense reduction and insane single target damage. And from his second skill, we have attack, we have march speed, plus we have health bonus. Get him to 5511. The reason why you want to do it is very similar to, let's say, Liu Che or CPO. You just want to start using him as soon as possible because he's just so good. And in the end, you will obviously expertise him to get the best out of him. And the next one is, you don't need to necessarily expertise, but she's very similar to Tomris. But I was really lucky. Joan of Arc, Prime Joan of Arc at 5115. I'm deep in Season of Conquest, but this march is still giving me a lot of kills, a lot of positive traits, even when my Joan of Arc investment is just 190 sculptures. But I was really lucky. Once you max this skill, the probability of triggering the Sacred Banner, which is your active skill, twice is going to be 100%, which means it is guaranteed. It's not a probability. So 5115 Joan of Arc is, I think, just so good. And another one will be William. Yes, the ideal place that you want to use William is 5551, definitely, just like what I do. However, you can still use William at 5511 until you have enough sculptures. Of course, in the end, you don't need to necessarily expertise him, but you definitely want to get him to 5551 instead of 5511. But until then, you can certainly use him at 5511 to get that sweet AoE and buff your other marches with Rage. On the next video, we are going to discuss best 5551 investments or 380 sculpture investments in Rise of Kingdoms. If you don't want to miss it, make sure to subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching. And please remember to download Raid Shadow Legends from the link in the description, pinned comment, or you can scan the QR code on the screen. Goodbye.